You're listening to DraftKings Network.
You know that sound. It's the sound of money hitting your Venmo account, a friend paying you back, or maybe it's getting cash back from your favorite business when you pay with the Venmo debit card, or it's realizing you can pay with Venmo at checkout at thousands of brands. Now, there are so many more ways to answer the question, what's your Venmo? Download Venmo today. The Venmo MasterCard is issued by the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated. Dosh Cashback terms apply.
Hey there, travelers and dreamers. We all have that dream trip that we've been wishing we could go on. But too often, life just gets in the way, whether it's work, family responsibilities, or, in my case, and I'm sure many of yours, price. But your dream trip doesn't have to stay a dream any longer, because Priceline is here to help you book it with millions of deals on hotels, flights, cruises, and rental cars. That bucket list destination? Yeah, it's a lot closer than you think. You know, I've been wanting to go see the Pittsburgh Pirates for a long time at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. That's like at the top of my list of bucket list destinations of baseball parks around the country. And because I now know about the type of deals that Priceline offers, I may pull the trigger this summer and go see those Pirates. Priceline makes it easy and stress-free to book a flight and a hotel so I can go see my team play live. With millions of travel deals like up to 60% off hotels, I know I'll be able to find great options even when I need to book last minute. So don't just dream about that next trip, book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com to go to your happy price. Actual prices may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
It's step Dan time. That's right, guys. Dan's out. That means, kids, we're all going to have ice cream today. Yay!
I don't really like ice cream.
No?
No.
It's
too cold.
Froyo?
It hurts my teeth.
How about that? I want to go to so many different places today. There's so many different directions I want to take this show, but I have to start with this story that I saw literally moments before we came on air. Because I was sitting in the eating area or outside in the living room, whatever we call this place right here, and Roy cackled. And I said, "What's up?" And he started saying, "Oh, this thing with Jamel Hill." And I said, "The Phil Collins story." And Roy looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, "Oh, so this isn't about the same thing that I saw," which is Jamel on her podcast interviewed Ramel Ross, the director. He's nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay for Nickel Boys, right? But he also played college basketball at Georgetown, that's a pretty amazing kind of background for someone in Hollywood. And he tells a story about one time where Michael Jordan showed up to play pickup hoops with the team. And they're like, "Oh, it was great." And it's like, and he brought Randy Moss with him. And he said, "Now, guys," Michael Jordan is telling them, "Guys, you got to be cool. You can't ask for autographs or pictures or anything like that. But we have a special guest coming." And the special guest was Phil Collins.
Oh, wow.
Michael thought he was a bigger star than Randy Moss.
Phil Collins. But it is kind of crazy. Phil Collins come play ball with us?
That is wild. I've got him at 5'5". How tall is Phil Collins?
You know what? He could be 6'2". Phil Collins hooping. Like, what does Phil Collins' game look like? What do you guys think? Right?
He's 5'6".
5'6", so he's got to be shifty, right? A little small guard, get in there.
Point of attack defender.
Yep.
It's like Scott Skiles. I don't know what.
Game.
I'm thinking
Playmaker.
It's a great passer, yeah.
Yeah, you're doing hairline.
he's penetrating. Feisty, right?
Oh, yeah, tenacious.
Definitely a passer. I mean, who has the all-time record for assist in a game?
Scott Skiles.
Doesn't he kind of look like Scott Skiles?
Kind of does.
Yeah.
The hairline thing.
Yeah, receding, yeah.
Yeah. It reminded me of the only other story I can think of that rivals that as far as what? I knew this guy. He's an agent, and he is from Minnesota. And when he was getting his law degree, he used to play in this pickup game. And it was one of those things where it's a Sunday pickup game, and everyone knows someone through someone else. You know the deal. You've been to these pickup runs where it's the same 15 to 17 people show up every week. Sometimes it's this 12, sometimes it's that 12. But, it's the same group of people. Mm-hmm. You know them but you don't know them outside of this, really, right? So Izzy and Mike and Raj, right? And so the guy Raj was a premium shit talker, right? Great basketball player. Penetrating, dribbling, shooting, and talk the whole time. Raj,
what's happening? Yeah.
A big personality, right? So maybe like 4 or 5 weeks go by and Raj doesn't show up, and so one of the guys is like, "Hey, what was Raj okay?
What's happening now?
What's going on with Raj?" And it's Raj is on tour with his band, and it's like Raj is in a band, and like it's because you don't know these people's backgrounds and lives outside of this. And he said, and then the next year, Purple Rain came out.
Oh no.
Prince, Roger, no.
He was in the Revolution?
It was Prince.
It was Prince?
It was Prince.
Prince Rogers. Yeah.
So Prince, like all the stuff about like the Charlie Murphy True Hollywood story about Prince being a basketball player and talking trash and being amazing and all that, apparently 1,000% true. 1,000% true. And obviously it took a life of its own after it was told on the Chappelle Show. But my question is this. Why haven't we heard about the Phil Collins stories? If Phil Collins is out here playing pickup ball with Michael Jordan and Randy Moss.
But hang on a second.
And Randy Moss could hoop, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't he high school teammates with
Jason
White
Williams?
Chocolate?
Yep.
They were buddies. Prince is famously even shorter than Phil Collins.
Yeah.
How did people not know that this little 5'2" dude wasn't Prince?
Because he wasn't Prince at the time. He was Raj. Like, imagine, Izzy, you're not catching him at the peak of, like, when doves cry. You're catching him as he's, like, touring small venues, trying to make a living.
The artist soon to be named Prince.
There you go. It's like a prequel. The other name, and this one will blow you guys away. You guys know who Bruce Hornsby is?
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
This is one of my favorite stories.
So, Bruce Hornsby, another big basketball fan. So one day, Bruce Hornsby gets to go to practice in Philly when Allen Iverson is there. After the practice, he's like, "Hey, you want to play one-on-one?" And Bruce Hornsby won. Bruce Hornsby beat Allen Iverson in one-on-one.
Somebody tell me how tall Bruce Hornsby is. That's all I care about. There's no way he beat Allen Iverson.
Dude, I'm telling you. Some of these musicians.
6'4".
Yeah.
Oh,
wow. Okay.
That's just the way it is.
Possibly. He could have just posted him up the whole time.
Toured with the Dead, too.
Did he?
I think so.
Didn't he?
The name's ringing a bell.
Things will never be the same.
But so Phil Collins, we got him as feisty. We got him as dribble penetration, playmaker. Defensively, how is he?
Oh, he's a turnstile.
Yeah?
I mean, first of all, you can post him up, right?
Sure.
Absolutely. He's probably going to foul the heck out of you in the post and say he didn't. All short people do that.
I'm thinking Jose Alvarado, right?
Yeah, I think you'd be pretty good against all odds.
Just like a pest. Just completely undercutting you at the knees. Like, not dirty, but walking right up to that line of, hey, man, like, it's just a pickup game. By the way, the other story that Ramel Ross tells is from that game was that Randy Moss grabbed the rebound and then one dribble drop step dunked on Ruben Boomshay, which one of the great names in basketball history.
You could have dropped a better name right there.
Ruben Boomshay.
Who did Randy Moss just dunk on? Oh, that was Ruben Boomshay. Also of Georgetown, right? That's where they played?
Yep, Georgetown.
Crazy.
Georgetown legends. The Cavs and the Celtics play tonight, and for almost everybody, this is the top two teams in the Eastern Conference.
Peyton Pritchard is the Phil Collins of the NBA.
There you
right
go.
now,
That's another comp. Peyton Pritchard. I could see Phil
I
Collins.
could definitely
like
see Phil launching from like 30.
But not with the volume, though. Because remember, this is like 2003 probably. It's early 2000s. So
He's not slashing to the basket.
No, he is. But he's not shooting that many threes. He's pulling from deep when he does. But not too many, right?
Right, yeah.
Because that's like only to be used in the case of a like nuclear attack, right?
Can you imagine him calling the plays, putting his hand up like, over there? All right, set a screen over here.
Oh, yeah. Phil Collins, like, telling Mike, get away. Randy, come here. Set that screen.
And then wants MJ to set the screen.
And then, like, in the dead ball, he puts his arm around MJ's waist. He's like, this is what I want you to do. And MJ's like, oh, okay.
He's hand checking.
Oh, man. But, yeah, no, Cavs, Celtics. Izzy.
Yo.
We often talk about well, I have to see them do it, right? Even the Celtics, who won last year, literally up until last year, everyone was like, well, until they do it in the playoffs, I can't trust them. And the Cavs have been a team that's had less modest success in the playoffs than Boston had up until last year, right? They'd never been to a conference finals with this group. Their best players had never been to a conference final, and Donovan Mitchell, he's been to the second round a bunch of times. But eerily, their season and what's happening to them is a lot like what happened to Golden State a decade ago. Literally 10 years ago, Golden State was a nice little team. Go to playoffs a couple times, or go to second round. But no one would say this is a championship team. Then a new head coach
Ethan Strauss did.
Ethan Strauss did. And I'll tell you, the three people who said the Warriors that year were going to win a championship before pretty much anyone else. Ethan Strauss said it before the season started. Leandro Barbosa said it, I want to say, like, in January.
It doesn't count, though, because he's on the team.
But it was shocking.
Okay.
It was shocking. Like in a post-game interview, hey, great winner, you guys. How you guys feeling? It's like, I think we're gonna be championship. Like what? Everyone was like, what are you talking about? It was and it was just like, yeah, it's gonna happen. It was the same kind of confidence of Ethan, where it's like, if you saw what I saw, you'd know, like, oh, no one's beating them. And then the other person, and this one always shocks people, Shaq, Super Bowl weekend told me that.
Shaq always goes against the grain.
But
there's nothing. It's a win-win situation for him, because obviously if he's right, he's going to say, I saw it before everybody. And if he's wrong, nobody's going to remember. And it's Shaq. He does it all the time.
He never said it on air.
I think he said the Mavs were going to beat the Lakers in that game against Luka that first time. Like everybody else was like, oh, of course the Lakers are going to win. They're not going to let him lose. And he just wanted to go the other way.
If Shaq gives a prediction in a forest, no one's around to hear.
That's a bit of a look at me, Louie, right?
I mean,
Shaq told me Super Bowl weekend.
He gave you a private prediction.
Because this is how it went down. He said, who do you think is going to win? And I said, well, who do you think is going to win, big fella? And obviously his rhetoric on TV is, give it to the big man. You can't win shooting, or like all these shooting too many jumpers, etc. And he looked at me and he said, nobody's beating them light-skinned boys. Nobody. I was like, what? He's like, and then he pulled out his phone and he showed me a video of his son, who at the time, Sharif, was, I want to say, either a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And it was like, he's 6'9", and he said, everything I'm teaching him is perimeter. Shoot threes, but like that's the way the game is going. And I'm looking, I'm like, this is Shaquille O'Neal, the patron saint of throw it down low and why isn't the big man da-da-da, and Dwight Howard needs to do more and all that stuff. And even he was so in on that, as it's unstoppable. But the rest of, I want to say, basketball in America was like, you can't win like that. You can't win like that. And then they ultimately win. And then next thing you know, it's like, of course they won. And of course they became this.
Well,
this
they started
juggernaut.
off like 21-2 that year and had, a good amount of health that they were, probably, LeBron called them, somebody called them the healthiest team ever. But if you're trying to get me to say that about the Cavs this year, you got it. I'm going to say it.
Okay.
I think they're going to be in the finals. At the very least, I think they'll be in the finals. All the elements are basically copying that Golden State team. And if you go to 2022, Kenny Atkinson was an assistant coach on that championship team with the Warriors, and he's a damn good coach. They have, all the elements. And I'll say this. I sort of talked highly about it when they made that trade, but the trade for DeAndre Hunter, I think is absolutely huge for them. They're going to have stretches in their second unit with Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter where they expand a lead. They're going to do the same thing that Warriors team did where you brought in whatever Sean Livingston and Maurice Spates or whomever
Leandro
else.
Barbosa.
And Leandro Barbosa and go on these crazy runs. I think Cleveland has all the elements and just need to stay healthy.
Mike lit up at just hearing the name Mo Spates.
Yeah, you're taking me back. A little mole on his head.
Yeah, a little growth. Mo Speezy.
It's a gator.
Simpler time.
Yeah.
Mo Spates, man, it's too long of a story, but one of the funniest pre-draft interviews we've ever had. That dude, because it was, first of all, we asked Billy Donovan and his staff, hey, what can you tell us about Mo Spates? And all they kept talking about was his perimeter game. And we're like, what are you talking about? All he did was post up at Florida. And then he came in, and his workout was literally all three-pointers and pulling up off the dribble. What is all this? And it's like, oh, because Billy wouldn't let him shoot.
Speaking of Ethan Strauss, in his book, wasn't there something about KD saying, how the hell do they call you Mo Buckets if you've never averaged 20 in the league?
20? That's
With the Cavs and the Celtics tonight, I mean, obviously this is a battle for Eastern Conference supremacy, but for you guys, how close do you think those teams are to Oklahoma City? Like, do you think that's just a battle for them, and Oklahoma City's going to run away with it, win the Western Conference,
and be for Amin here? He is huge OKC fan. He believes they're going to win it all. I don't even think they're getting to the finals, but I can't really argue with him about this.
This is my nightmare as a basketball media person who travels to cover the finals. I think the finals is going to be Cleveland versus Oklahoma City.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're all the way there on Cleveland being a finals team, and you think Oklahoma City now is ready to just sort of run its way through the West.
They've done it. I agree with
everything,
you, every question mark you could have possibly had about them has been answered. And
they don't have a flaw.
They don't have a flaw, and they have the experience. They did it last year. Now they know. They have that taste in their mouth. They've got all the makings of a championship team.
Would you ever sit out an NBA Finals because you're like, I just don't feel like going back to Cleveland? Because Cleveland is your least favorite city.
Well, not my least.
Really?
It's up there.
It's the one that I've heard you complain the most about.
Is it your least favorite NBA city, period?
Yeah, I was talking NBA cities. Cleveland isn't the bottom. It's up there, though. I'm trying to think what are the other
Sacramento.
cities.
Amin's bottom 5 NBA cities.
Well, you've always complained about Chicago.
I don't like Chicago as a city.
Who doesn't like Chicago?
I don't like Chicago.
Why?
Are you only going during the winter?
You don't like Portillo's.
You don't like Portillo's?
You don't like summertime shy?
Dude, I've been to Chicago every season of the year, and every single time I go, the weather is awful.
Really?
No.
That's unfortunate.
There was one time during the early pandemic or late pandemic, till 2021, I went because I had to do training camp radio, interviewing the Chicago Bulls, and my flight wasn't until 9 p.m. and I was done with work at noon, and so my buddy Sean Little was like, "All right, let's hang out in Chicago," because he's from Chicago, and so. We went out and the weather was great, and I was like, man, maybe I've misjudged. We went to this bar where they pour shots in an ice little thing, and then you throw it, and it hits the bell and all that stuff. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I've misjudged this place. And my flight was delayed, so I was like, okay, we stay a little longer. So then at 10 o'clock, I'm like, all right, I got to get going. I get to the airport at 10:45, right? My flight's at 1 in the morning because it's been super delayed. And it's empty. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to fly right through security. And I go and the chain link fence is down. I said, well, maybe the next one. And I keep going. I'm like, they're all closed. And so I asked somebody, I'm like, oh, yeah, this whole terminal's closed. You got to go to the next terminal and then walk over. I'm like, well, that sounds silly.
So this is why you hate an entire city because of an airport experience?
No, listen to this.
Let him cook.
Listen to this.
It's O'Hare, so I kind of see where he's going.
So I go to the next terminal. It's all closed. So I'm like, well, what do? I grab some airline person, and they're like, oh, yeah, the airport's closed.
The entire airport?
I'm like, what do you mean the airport is closed? So I call American Airlines and say, yo, I can't get in. My flight hasn't left yet. They're not even boarding, but I can't get in. How do I get in? And I said, oh, yeah, the airport's closed. What? I'm like, but the planes are still here.
What year was this?
2021.
Wow.
And so,
I've been there before it opens. I had a 4 a.m. flight to Phoenix once, actually.
Uh-huh.
And I got there at 3-something
Yeah.
to go through TSA. And I was just waiting for them to open up a lane.
I've been traveling my entire life, for damn near 46 years at this point. I have never heard of the concept of, sorry, the airport's closed, like it's a bank or a McDonald's or something.
You know what? Yeah. Fair complaint. O'Hare, I used to love it, but I could see as a traveler why it would be somewhere that you hate, because now I don't live in Chicago anymore. So I'm just going and experiencing most of my trip through how easy or hard it was to get through O'Hare. Now I hate it. There's just
awful.
The new Delta terminal on Terminal 5 is actually not that bad, but I digress.
Is it open 24 hours?
Great question. I don't know. I do know that if you need to catch a ride share, you have to go back to Terminal 1.
That's the other thing.
It's bananas.
Hey, every effing airport in America, dare I say it, the world, hey, every terminal has a ride share pickup right there, either on the curb or you go into the parking lot, right? O'Hare's the only one where, hey, especially, don't let it be a blizzard. You got to walk back 200
yards.
There's
a little train thing, yeah.
Go that way. And I said, what, is there a tunnel? Or nope, go outside and brave the elements.
I do love the tunnel with the moving walkway and the art installation on the ceiling. Anyways, I digress. You went to a basic bitch bar in Chicago. You had a nice time. It was nice out. Wow. Maybe give it a fifth chance.
I mean,
it's not when it's nice out. It's a great city.
Yeah, but it's just like it snowed. One time I went in April and it snowed.
So all you need to enjoy Chicago is to be there when the airport is open, and you will once again love that city.
And what else? And the weather has to not suck.
Go between June and September, yeah.
And go to Midway.
Phoenix.
Yeah, fly through Midway.
What'd you say?
Go to Midway.
Go to Midway?
Yeah.
Is Midway's like a Greyhound bus terminal, right?
No, Midway's fine. They actually just redid it. I used to only fly in and out of Midway.
Is it closer than O'Hare?
Depending on where you're going. If you're going to the United Center, no. O'Hare is definitely closer.
Okay.
If you're going to the city, also depends where you're going. But
Hey folks, happy winter time. You know, wintertime's a great time to hang out with friends. Maybe take a hockey trip. It's what I did with my friends. Hockey time quickly became Miller time. Responsibly, of course, because Miller Lite was made for me and my crew of friends. Bunch of guys that love the taste of beer and don't want to feel guilty about the beer that they're having. Miller Lite delivers across almost every note because Miller Lite is brewed for taste. It hits different than other light beers. The taste you know you can depend on with no games and no gimmicks. Just a great beer for people who like beer. Like you, like my friends, and like me. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.
Hey there, travelers and dreamers. We all have that dream trip that we've been wishing we could go on. But too often, life just gets in the way, whether it's work, family responsibilities, or, in my case, and I'm sure many of yours, price. But your dream trip doesn't have to stay a dream any longer, because Priceline is here to help you book it with millions of deals on hotels, flights, cruises, and rental cars. That bucket list destination? Yeah, it's a lot closer than you think. You know, I've been wanting to go see the Pittsburgh Pirates for a long time at PNC Park in Pittsburgh. That's like at the top of my list of bucket list destinations of baseball parks around the country. And because I now know about the type of deals that Priceline offers, I may pull the trigger this summer and go see those Pirates. Priceline makes it easy and stress-free to book a flight and a hotel so I can go see my team play live. With millions of travel deals like up to 60% off hotels, I know I'll be able to find great options even when I need to book last minute. So don't just dream about that next trip, book it with Priceline. Download the Priceline app or visit Priceline.com to go to your happy price. Actual prices may vary. Limited time offer. Terms apply.
All right, I know I got to do this ad read, but hold on. Let me reapply. Did you hear that? Yep, that's my new favorite lip gloss from NYX Cosmetics. Now I'm ready to talk to you. I've been a huge fan of NYX Cosmetics for many years now. In fact, I use their Thick It, Stick It brow gel every single day. So you can imagine my excitement when we recently received a special delivery to the Batard studios from our friends over at NYX Cosmetics. And there it was. When I opened the box, glowing, I heard the angels sing, "Ah." It's their latest lip gloss fat oil lip drip. It's NYX Cosmetics' first lip oil of its kind. This creamy lip oil will have your lips dripping with fat perks. You get all the shine of a lip gloss and none of the stickiness while experiencing 12-hour hydration. I'm usually a matte lip gloss kind of gal. My normal go-to is NYX Cosmetics lip gloss, the Lingerie XXL. But after applying the status update shade, I have found my new go-to lip gloss. Fat Oil Lip Drip has high shine finish with comfortable wear and none of the sticky texture. A lip product that's hydrating, non-sticky, and only $9? Now that's a win. Try Fat Oil Lip Drip from NYX Professional Makeup. Available in 14 universally flattering shades. Find your perfect Fat Oil Lip Drip. Shop now at NYXCosmetics.com or a retailer near you.
Don Le Batard.
You getting started on the breakfast flan?
Oh, man, I've been singing a song to myself all morning long. Breakfast flan.
Stugotz.
Have you never heard the breakfast flan song?
No, hit me with it.
Okay. I wish I had some breakfast flan. Breakfast flan. Where can I find a breakfast like that?
This is the Don Le Batard Show with the Stugotz.
I think I like the Cavs tonight.
Yeah? I mean, here's the thing. The Celtics are coming off of a big loss to Detroit. And so typically the formula is when they lose, they come back
It's a good point.
extra hard.
I think I like the Celtics tonight.
Between Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum in the playoffs, who do you trust more? It's a crazy question because one of them's been to the finals and lost one and won one. It's wild because he can have the bigger games, but I don't trust him individually to take those good shots every time. I feel like he's going to come up and chuck every once in a while. It's going to be like, hey, if I happen to be on, this is going to be great. If not, hey, I'm going to go 5 for 20. Somebody else pick me up.
And I know it was the bubble, but individually, Donovan Mitchell, by head and shoulders, had the best playoff series out of the two.
Yeah, and that's where. Did he have 2 50-point games in the bubble?
Yeah.
He hasn't replicated that.
He was dealing with
outside.
something the last go-round in the playoffs, right? He wasn't completely healthy.
Last season?
Yeah.
He was hurt, He was hurt, and he ended up missing most of that Celtics series, as did a lot of other people on the Cavs. Jared Allen missed a lot of time.
Yeah, that was a huge one for them.
So it's just it's one of those things where I think we tend to, rightfully so, give the benefit of the doubt to the team that has the experience, right? If we haven't seen you, and again, I'm not even talking about the Celtics.
That you got to suffer.
Yeah, but it's not even about them winning a championship. It's that the Celtics have a lot of playoff experience, despite being young. All those guys have 100 games of playoff.
Jason Tatum has a shot to be the most playoff experienced player ever.
Ever, yeah, right? Because he plays every year in the playoffs, and they more often than not they go past the second round. And so and obviously with 7-game series and all that stuff. But ultimately, I wonder for the Cavs, is it enough? When is enough, right? When have
they shown enough?
When have you? Well, no, we all know they've shown enough when they win a championship. And they're like, oh yeah, of course. But the other part of it is, when is enough experience in order for us to be like, okay, the experience part isn't a thing anymore?
It depends on what type of players you have. I feel like with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and maybe them not actually getting along, it takes a taste of every round, and it happens to be that way, right? They had the finals lost and then finals and won. So I don't know. I think for certain teams like the Warriors, they were a second-round loss, and then 2 years later won a championship. So I think you need to experience once or twice. Once you get all the sort of the nerves out about being at the bigger rounds, because even as somebody covering it, I covered the league starting in 2000. When I got to 2006, it was covering my first finals. Even I felt the pressure. I was like, this is a lot.
It is, the finals is a weird time, man. It's because conference finals actually is the weirdest. I say this all the time about the playoffs. When the playoffs start, there's so many teams playing, it kind of feels like a regular season night. For just everyone's kind of playing. Obviously, the level of basketball is higher, it's more intense, but because there's so many other things happening, you don't feel like it's actually that special. Then you get to the second round, and there's 2 games a night, the Eastern Conference game and the Western Conference game. But you still feel like there's a lot of stories and things being talked about, 8 or however many different teams. Then you get to the conference finals. And in the conference finals, there's 1 game a night. And then you feel, oh, man, everybody is watching just us.
So when Asar Thompson crosses you up and turns you around and you look like a moron in the conference finals, everybody's going to be on that.
It doesn't fly under the radar something that might happen in the first round or even the second round. And then obviously the finals, you've got all that time. The difference between the finals and conference finals is not only are you the only game of the night, but also when I don't play, there's nothing. There's just that void where game 1 is Thursday and game 2 ain't until Sunday. And so we're sitting around waiting to see what's going to happen.
I want to ask this of Scal when we talk to him later, Brian Scalabrine, but do Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown hate each other? Are we going to go back after all these years and figure out this was a Kobe Shaq situation and neither of them liked each other and they could have won a lot more if they actually got along? Because I just get the sense that they can't stand each other. And I've read that a couple of times, but there's really nothing, backing that up in terms of information.
This feels like the Bradley Beal, John Wall conversations of a decade ago, right? We're like, and they're like, no, we're best buds. And then afterwards, this guy's cool, but I couldn't stand playing with him. I'm like, oh, okay.
Do we think Scal will actually give us a straight answer on that?
Absolutely not.
Darn.
Absolutely not.
I thought basketball was dedd, by the way.
It's not.
It's in total shambles.
What a great start to the show.
I got called a coward and a traitor, Mike, because on Oddball, I just said that I could see both sides of PK Subban's argument, and I get that, NHL looks pretty good right now compared to the NBA, especially after All-Star Weekend. A coward and a traitor.
You're not American anymore.
I agree. It's PK Subban acted in bad faith. You have to disclose exactly why you don't watch it at the very beginning before you make character assassinations.
Oh, that's the recipe?
Yeah. Yeah. And you also have to wear your bias on your sleeve. Like, for one, the primary reason why I don't watch a sport anymore is because the Miami Heat stink.
Yeah.
And I've seen this, and I've been bored by their approach for the last 2 years. They didn't care about the regular season, so I responded in kind. But secondarily, because my team is no good, it allows me to see all the other flaws in the sport and not care as much. But I do want to salute Donovan Mitchell, because yesterday we were talking about, not necessarily through his own actions, but it just hasn't worked out for Kevin Durant, like the decisions he's ended up making. And some of these things are out of his control. Like, I'm sure in a vacuum he'd prefer to have gone to Miami than Phoenix, but he gave a couple of destinations, and he ended up going to Phoenix. There are certain things out of his control. His teammates getting injured. Kyrie, although you do take that as a data point with Kyrie Irving. You have to account for Kyrie-ing when you decide to team up with him. But it's worked out on the opposite end, I think, for Donovan Mitchell, and he doesn't have the same amount of title or bust pressure surrounding him the way that Kevin Durant does. He had the opportunity to play hardball with the Cavs. He decided to extend. Again, would Cleveland have been his top destination? He didn't have that much influence over it. No, he probably would have preferred to go somewhere else, but it's worked. He brought along a fledgling franchise, became the face of it, and now they're legit title contenders. It's really worked out for Donovan Mitchell.
I have a slightly different way of looking at, like, the way I predict. Like, I think Cleveland is going to make the finals in the Eastern Conference. I don't even know who I think is going to make it in the West. Probably OKC if you really break it down. But if you tell me who are the two teams,
what a huge NBA Finals for Adam Silver at this moment in time. Cleveland, OKC, that'll get him.
But this would be a more exciting
Stern
one.
Will crawl out of the grave. I'm like, stop it.
The two teams that I'm most afraid of in respective conferences is Milwaukee in the East because of Giannis.
Yes.
And now with Kuz, just another option there. Yeah. And Golden State in the West.
Come to my side of the...
I want to talk about Golden State.
How is Steph Curry 36 years old, man? Like, that's wild. He still looks like he's, the baby-face assassin.
His game is going to age with grace because of his style, and I guess I'm always going to be worried about his ankles, but he's shown that. But I do have questions because they've played really well with Jimmy Butler in terms of wins and losses.
Oh, boy.
But I also look at Jimmy Butler's stats, and I'm a little confused by it. He's shooting 43% from the field. He's like 1 for 14 from 3.
It's almost like that's why he needed a star in Miami, so he could struggle a little bit.
100%. 100%. But a lot of the people making like Stephen A. Smith, if I watch First Take on mute here, and I'm assuming that Jimmy Butler's lighting the world on fire because every highlight that they show is, him playing within the offense. And then I look at the numbers, I'm like, this doesn't really make sense. So why is it working so well? Is it competition that they're going up against? Or is Jimmy Butler doing things that don't necessarily show up in the stat sheet that clear things up for Steph and alleviate some of that pressure?
Yes. The answer is yes. It's all of those things, right? Number one, Jimmy Butler's arrival has made Steph Curry sit back up like Marty McFly in the Enchantment Under the Sea dance after his parents kiss, right? Like, Earth Angel, Earth Angel. He's playing that guitar hard now, right? In a way that he was fading. Dude, it looked not great for Steph Curry. He looked like, dare I say it, like Father Time was knocking on that door. And Jimmy Butler gets there, and all of a sudden, this dude is revitalized, right? Jimmy Butler offers the perfect counterbalance in terms of interior play and, more importantly, attention. It's simultaneously made both of their lives a lot easier than it was a month ago, where it's like, oh, there's somebody else you have to worry about every single night.
Jeremy, tell me you didn't feel this deep down in your heart when Jimmy is sitting there drawing up a play in the huddle.
God.
It's exactly parroting something that Spo has told him in the past.
That's exactly right.
And then it absolutely worked. I'm just like, dude, don't do it, man.
It's been interesting to see the reaction both nationally and locally to the Warriors winning as much as they have, and the things that have been put on display within media and social media about Jimmy and his game, things that weren't necessarily being celebrated the last couple of years until playoff time, and now are all over every highlight reel that you could possibly see. So it's interesting to see that. It's hard to watch Jimmy embrace the Warriors franchise the way that he has, and it's really amazing to think that, he's willing to lavish every single every single franchise he goes to with the praise of being the greatest franchise that he's ever played for, and everything is great, and I'm allowed to be me.
And he pooped his pants.
Well, he did. I mean,
I asked Brandon
he pooped his
Majeski
pants
about that. They said they did not ask him about it.
which means he pooped his pants.
Exactly.
Yeah, because if you don't, he's like, no, that wasn't poop. It was just sat on some ketchup or whatever. By the way, great job by Jeremy playing Don't Look Now. You did it.
Cardboard cut over here.
Riley's a menace.
I thought it was a statue.
Why did you let him pick your nose, Dare Bear?
Pat Riley? Yeah. Pat Riley's allowed to do anything.
There it is.
I think it just shows, by the way, like the folks that they are trying to use or they had used in the past, even if you go to Jordan Poole, Otto Porter, like you don't need to be that competent to be able to play with that group and have Steph sort of carry you. And obviously Jimmy is beyond competent. Mm-hmm. He can have a bad day on that team and still, win and have a comeback win against the Magic because of Steph. And he, unlike there was nobody on that Heat team that he was constantly trying to set up, right? There wasn't.
That's what's kind of funny, right? Is like this Heat team this year really could have used that Jimmy Butler. Like Tyler Hero taking the leap that he has offensively could have been helped out a lot by a guy going downhill and creating things.
It's also why you can't dismiss like the Gabe Vincent, Max Strus stuff.
Sure.
And how that became some sort of resentment that Jimmy kept.
Which is so interesting, right? Because all anyone complained about was that they kept running it back, and yet all they did was tweak this roster around him the entire time. They just didn't cash in on trading the young all-stars that they had, the young guys that would become all-stars, to get him some other individual co-star that who knows if they would have had the same amount of success as they've had the last several years. But it is interesting to see a revitalized Jimmy because this was ultimately the perfect scenario. You're not the guy, but you've got to be the best number 2 in the league 25 times to make a deep playoff run. Like 25 times total, regular season and playoffs included. You need to be your best 25 more times, and then you can coast for the next 2 years.
I love the idea that you said, Jimmy says, I'm allowed to be me, right? I'm allowed to do,
it's hilarious.
Do whatever I want, right? And it made me think of, in Hollywood, these directors, these movie makers, being allowed to do whatever the hell they want. The Oscars are on Sunday, and one of the movies that's up, or two of the movies I should say are up, are The Brutalist and Wicked. And both of them are incredibly long movies. And I sat there and I thought to myself as I watched Wicked, you know what, man? We often villainize the studios. Like, they wouldn't let the director and his vision or whatever. Like, just let him make the movie the way he or she wanted it to be made. And now I'm like, you know what? They were right, man. They were right. Hey, get this thing under 90 minutes.
Cut it.
90 minutes?
No, I mean, I felt this way last year, too, with Killers of the Flower Moon, which was a movie I was really excited to see. The acting was really good in it.
Get into it.
The movie was, the book was amazing. And then the movie, it's just like Martin Scorsese made no choices. Like, he left everything in. And so it just had a 3.5 hour long runtime and was just very, very long. And so I think a lot of people just didn't watch it because it's just such a massive time commitment, which is a bummer because it's an important story.
I can't imagine trying to watch that in a theater. I would have been so knocked out.
Man, I loved it.
You watched it in theater?
What, Killers of the Flower Moon?
Yeah.
I saw it in
I really
Alamo
liked the
Draft
movie.
House. I loved it.
I really liked the movie too, but I think it could have been better.
I also saw it by myself, which I kind of dig.
Yeah.
Going to the movies
I like
by
going
yourself?
to
Going to the movies by myself,
too.
especially a theater like Alamo Draft House, like it's got to be a really stinky movie for me to not enjoy.
But
that
this year,
experience.
Wicked, like you said, Jeremy and I got in an argument about this yesterday because disagreement. We had a disagreement.
Argument is strong.
She came down in a bubble.
Dog.
They stretched it. First of all, they made it into 2 parts, and so part one.
The fact that part one is as long as it is, and it's
2 hours and 40 minutes long, and you don't find out what happens.
Are you
it's
a
only
Wicked hater?
Part one.
I thought it was a good movie, right? I thought
it was a great movie.
I was.
It is a great movie.
I was entertained.
I just think it could have been better.
It's just exactly. It's just like, dude, like you said in the break room, make some choices.
Make some choices. Same with The Brutalist. Like, the first half of the movie is pretty good. I'm following.
We get that sleeper bod from Adrian Brody.
Then there's a 1 minute intermission. And then the second half of the movie is another hour and 40 minutes long. And I'm not exactly sure what the point of it was.
I'm a studio head, and my filmmaker comes up to me and says, okay, the movie's gonna go like this, and then there's an intermission, I say, get out of my office. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, way too long. Way too
intermission.
Well, with Wicked, they're trying to capitalize on the intellectual property and get 2 movies out of that if you're going to spend the amount of money that you have.
On marketing, too.
On marketing was
ginormous
crazy.
Marketing.
But at the same time, this is a show that, like, everything that happened in the plot of the first half, outside of one thing that they add to do fan service and service back to the original Broadway performers, where they added a scene that killed about 10 minutes. It's all plot that happens before. The difference is you're taking something that's a Broadway musical that paces really fast. There's no giant landscape shots or beautiful scenery or waiting 10 seconds between lines delivered. You're going at a pace because it's a Broadway show. So you're taking something that at that time works in an hour and a half before an intermission and just automatically becomes 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2 hour, 20 minutes. And then where Jess and I agreed is they ruined the momentum of Defying Gravity, the final song, because they cut so many times between the songs.
They milked that shit in the school where she gets her hat and all that. I fell asleep during that point in the theater.
Here's where
Great nap,
where I was officially like, I'm lost, because I was like, Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were so good. Like, they carried that movie. I thought the production, the set, everything, the costumes were amazing. Where I was officially lost was during Defying Gravity, which is, Wicked's not my favorite musical, but I think Defying Gravity is one of the best musical numbers on stage. It's like the huge crescendo before the intermission in the Broadway show. And there were so many breaks during it. It became like a 25-minute long scene, and they showed like 6 different camera angles of her like picking up a broom, and I'm like, I'm like, come on, like this was like the moment you're waiting for, and then they kept cutting it up and breaking it up. I know Wicked heads were upset about that specifically, but man, I wish it was just one song.
Make some choices, man.
Yeah,
make some choices. That's all we're asking. I'm gonna formulate a list of top 5 places to take a nap in. I'm pretty sure number 1 is at the movies, but we'll give you all of that when we come back.
Hey folks, happy wintertime. You know, wintertime's a great time to hang out with friends, maybe take a hockey trip. It's what I did with my friends. Hockey time quickly became Miller time. Responsibly, of course, because Miller Lite was made for me and my crew of friends. Bunch of guys that love the taste of beer and don't want to feel guilty about the beer that they're having. Miller Lite delivers across almost every note because Miller Lite is brewed for taste. It hits different than other light beers. The taste you know you can depend on with no games and no gimmicks. Just a great beer for people who like beer. Like you, like my friends, and like me. Miller Lite. Great taste. 96 calories. Go to MillerLite.com/Dan to find delivery options near you, or you can pick up some Miller Lite pretty much anywhere they sell beer. Tastes like Miller time. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces.